My speech today is going to be about GMOs. So let me tell you a little bit more about a GMO in case you're not familiar. A GMO stands for genetically modified organism. It is an organism whose genome has been altered by the techniques of genetic engineering so that its DNA contains one or more genes not normally found there. A high percentage of food crops, such as corn and soybeans, are genetically modified every day. This doesn't mean that they're all bad, and it doesn't mean that it's going to hurt us. Scientists are working toward innovations in genetics that fight disease, fight hunger and malnutrition, improve animal and crop breeding practices, and will potentially save lives later on in the future. This information all comes from an article about genetically modified foods and organisms from Helen Kloss of Precision Nutrition. The real topic that should be being discussed is about GEOs. These are completely different from GMOs and are the bad guys here. These are genetically engineered organisms. These organisms have been constructed or produced by scientists in a laboratory out of petri dishes. These are made by chemicals and bacteria. So one day my ag teacher and I were talking about feeding the 9. And if you're not familiar with this reference, this is about feeding the 9 billion people that will be living on the earth in the year 2050. So he was telling me about how a college here in the United States, I'm not for sure which one, just produced chicken nuggets out of a petri dish in one of their science labs. They used bacteria, chemicals, and chicken traits to do so. They made the same chicken nuggets in a petri dish that you buy at McDonald's, just to put it in perspective for you. In my opinion, this is a GEO, and technically it is. They engineered the organism so that it would be something else. If it were up to me, I don't want to eat something out of a laboratory. Helen Kloss then talks about genetically modified microorganisms. She talks about how they have led to some of our century's life-saving medicines, such as, for an example, if you have type 1 diabetes, genetically modified bacteria made your insulin cheap, safe, and accessible. If you've suffered from a genetic growth disorder, such as Turner syndrome, genetically modified bacteria was used to make human growth hormone injections that help regulate your growth. If you suffer from a stroke or a heart attack, you might have been treated with medication made by tissue plasminogen activator, a cellular genetically modified organism. Not too long ago, Texas Farm Bureau made a video about the farmers and ranchers that supply our local grocery stores with food that feed us every day, that we also buy and consume. In the video, the farmers or ranchers are standing in their crops with their families around them. They're talking about how the food they produce, if they didn't think that it was healthy for us and if they didn't think that it was beneficial to us, then they wouldn't feed it to their families, and they certainly would not feed it to us. They also talk about how GMOs are taken and blown way out of proportion, and how most people think when they hear genetically modified organism, they think it's bad for us, when in reality, it's really not. They have our health and our family's health in their minds just as like they have theirs. Their kids wouldn't be allowed to be part of the agriculture business if they didn't think that the agriculture business was doing wrong. Just because they're genetically modified organisms doesn't mean they are all bad, and that they won't be doing anything to hurt you. They have been proved to help, feed, and heal. Thanks.